And welcome everyone to the final Last of Us episode. I realized I didn't actually tell Sean which one we're talking about. I thought I'd make it a surprise.
Surprise!
As always, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 692 tweets and 692 pics, and the link's in the description for the link tree where you can find it without typing. And of course, I'm joined by Sean.
Hey, you can join me at _12 on Instagram. Please join me. Join me. I'm lonely.
Do it. So yeah, it's did you just fall over?
Yeah. And gotta say, I think I wasn't disappointed at all.
No, I am very satisfied with how this ended.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going to get this out of the way now, I feel like the context of this ending has changed.
Yeah.
Despite them going beat for beat with everything.
Yeah.
Or I say beat for beat. Obviously, it wasn't beat for beat. It was all the big key moments of the video game. But
yeah,
one thing this show didn't do was have Joel be this like relentless killing machine that he is in the game. Like through the game, it's this guy does a lot of bad. It paints him not as the villain, but not as a very nice guy. And in this, they tell you he's not a great guy, but you never really see him not being a great guy. You get that one torture scene with
You don't think they did that in that last scene where he's just like? I mean,
no, because I feel like he's more just. I think without the prior context of him doing a lot more, like yes, you had the torture scene in last week's episode or the week before. No, yeah, it was like because it was David and James, wasn't it? Yeah, you had him torch the two guys there and kill them, but even that you got context, right? They've taken Ellie. Something's not right. You can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like he's not. The show didn't present him as this bad person that he is in the game.
He's more of an anti-hero, right?
Kind of, I guess.
I mean,
you can still disagree with it. I'm going to say it now. I'm going to cut this short quickly. If you can hear a saw going off, I apologize, but there's nothing I can do. I want my house finished. I don't want to live in a construction site no more. They showed up. They're doing it. As I said, screw it. I'm going home. Anyway.
Take it or leave it, people. So.
Yeah. Because I only said it because I literally just heard it then. I didn't know if it was getting picked up or not. But yeah, I still think you can fundamentally disagree with his decision in this episode. I feel like they still kept that there. I just feel like they didn't paint him in that harsher light. In the show as a whole compared to the game.
Yeah, I think they toned it down a little bit. But I'm gonna just put this out of the way. Like as a parent, I understood why he did it.
I completely get why he's done it, and I think to an extent I actually agree with this version of Joel. Whereas the game I didn't. The game I'm like, it's really like it. Yes, it's still selfish in this, but I don't know. I just felt different about this one compared to. I think it's more grey in the game. It's black and white.
So I haven't played the game. I don't know what happened in the game to compare it to.
Virtually this.
It is 1 for 1.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh really? Yeah.
The only different thing in this episode is the beginning with Ashley Johnson, who is the voice of Ellie in the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say
where we see like the Ellie's birth, and it goes on from there. Which I was just gonna say, like, I'm not overly attached to the game, right? I think the gameplay is garbage in both of them. I hate how clunky they are. But the narrative says I adore the first one. I still haven't finished the second one. But I don't know. There's something about seeing her and hearing Ellie's voice. Like, not taking away from Bella Ramsey in the slightest, but I think she's done phenomenal in this series, and I can't wait to see her essentially be the lead in like the main lead in the next 2 seasons. But just hearing that Ellie's voice at the start, it's just like, for some reason it really hit me. Like, and then of course I finally, it's only taken me 9 weeks, I finally realized that the woman playing Marlene is the voice actress of Marlene.
Yeah.
And also I can't think of the other one. One of the nurses that with the Doctor with Ellie is from the game. She plays Abby in the second game, but there's a whole thing there. There's no actual connection or setup there, but it's just she's there. So like I can appreciate them actually using. It's something I wish Disney would do with Star Wars, right? Like you have these voice actresses or these voice actors, like bring them in, like do something with them.
They did with Katie Sackhoff. I mean,
yeah, but
we'll get
Katie
to that
Sackhoff
later.
is an actor first, I find.
Okay.
Like she's done stuff on screen. Like she's not in Firefly, was she? What was she?
No, Battlestar Galactica.
That's do you know what? In my brain went, it's Battlestar, you idiot, and I was like, no, it's fine. I say Firefly, it's fine. But you know, like she's done stuff like that. She's a known actor. Where people like Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, even though I swear Ashley
Johnson's an actress.
Is she?
She started in Growing Pains. Like for people my age, she was in Growing Pains, like that TV show with Kirk Cameron.
Okay, for someone that wasn't around in the Stone Age, I can say that because I'm young.
It's true.
Like Growing Pains.
The dinosaurs were roaming the earth when I was growing up. So
you know that's like me going back to like the Olsen twins. Like people are only going to know Elizabeth Olsen. No one knows Mary-Kate and Ashley anymore.
Because they're just like away. They're doing some fashion stuff in New York.
I was say they're away and okay. I tell you.
Or killing some actors. But anyways,
but yeah, I want to say Ashley Johnson was the waitress in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, she was there. Yeah, she was in that.
Because that's where I originally knew her from. It's like, it's that random woman. Who's this random woman? Why is she in both Avengers movies? And then suddenly she's the voice of Ellie in the game. I'm like, that's a really random thing. I never knew. But that could be just my ignorance, to be fair. I didn't know she was there.
For everybody in my decade, the Stone Age and stuff like that, she grew up. She was
everyone that still bangs rocks together for heating.
Yeah, it was a hard time. I mean, no such thing as lighters. No, we had dinosaurs for cars, and all that stuff.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I can't lie.
But she was started out in Growing Pains as like the youngest daughter. She was a baby in that show. She was in with a crazy person to be Kirk Cameron, and all that.
I'll change my sentence. Like people like Troy Baker. Like Troy Baker is not an actor. He is. To be fair, he nailed the hell out. He nailed that. Like James in the last episode nailed that role. Fantastic. Yeah. I wouldn't have wanted him in Joel in this. Cause I don't think he has that look.
The gravitas.
I think he can bring like the gravitas to cinephiles up a little bit. I think he can have that. I just don't think he's right for a live action Joel. But I like the role they gave him.
Well, that and like you always want a named actor in your front center. So I mean, look, that's how it works. You gotta like fans of the game. You just gotta get over it, But they do. At the very least, they do utilize the voice actors in an interesting way in the show. So
but I think like this is the correct way to do it. Like we've used it, like Ashley Johnson. She was Ellie. She's now the mother of Ellie. Like that's like poetry. It rhymes. Like one brings it into another. Whereas
they should have used Troy Baker as the father control.
I mean, you know what? I wouldn't have, but yeah, cool, go. I love the role he did in this. But for someone like Ahsoka and Sabine, like those sorts of characters, like I get why. I completely understand why, but it's Sabine's voice actress is an actress, and it's like you could have bit of love that maybe in the Ahsoka show they're in there in some capacity. I don't know, and I don't want Feige to rain fire on you, so don't even wink in the microphone because I know he's watching and he knows he's watching right now. Man's on a rampage. But I just think that this whereas this show as a whole is the standard now for video game adaptations, I feel like that should be the standard for respecting what came before, acting wise. Personally, that's what I'd like to see. Like they haven't got to be those roles. Just give them a role, so it's something that Don't do what Uncharted did and have like Nathan Fillion or I can't even remember the guy who did the voice acting that showed up in that. He literally does everything, but he's so generic to me now. I can't remember his name. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, but he's sitting on the beach like, I've done something similar before, and then that cuts it. It's like, no, don't cameo it, give him a role.
Yeah, give him a significant role.
Like, I digress. That's just what I like credit where credit's due, and I think voice actors need more credit personally. But
more love, show them some love.
But yeah, I think this episode, the whole is, I was worried, but I think they pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, I was a little bit of a, like, I don't want to say afraid to watch the episode, but I was kind of like, man, I don't want to be very disappointed at the end of the episode. But like, yeah, I mean, I think from the start of the episode, I was like, okay, I think this is gonna work. I had a good feeling, like.
I say it had everything going against it for me. It's like, A, it's the end. B, there could be possible changes because they have changed some stuff in the past. C, it's the shortest episode, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. It's all going to be action. It's going to be rush. What the hell are we going to do? And then, bam, they nailed it.
I think that I'm going to be honest with you. That whole first scene with the mother, I kind of like had to look away. I was like
it was rough. I will say, actually, if I'm going to nitpick anything, I think the birthing was kind of funny. Like, she gets jumped by this clicker, and then the clicker's dead, and like her actually just squeezed this baby out on the floor. It's like, that clicker and you missed that baby the entire time. How is this baby been crushed under like the force of something? But plot armor, I guess.
Tense. You had to have. I mean, I think it worked. I
mean, it worked, but it was just a bit of a like, when did that baby get there? When did she push? Like, what?
Yeah. Well, I would just say it's like involuntarily, spasms probably. I mean, like you're like concentrating.
Obviously, I don't have a womb and a vagina myself.
Literally, like multitasking to its finest. Like
it's one of those where like, I would have thought the subconscious would have kept the baby in. Like, don't push the baby out, keep it in, suck it in.
I don't know. I don't have I've never had a baby before, so I don't know how that would work. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of.
No, it didn't ruin it. It was just a slight took me out of the moment. I was like,
chuckle, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay. Sprog just
conveniently popped out.
Yeah. But it was click, a new baby just dropped. Like, come on.
But it was a real tense moment for me. I thought it was like, especially having kids of my own. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, I don't want anything to happen to the kid. I don't like not take it the wrong way, but I don't care about any adults in the scene. It was
no. I mean, well, why would you, right? It's always,
but I mean, like subconsciously, I'm thinking this, but I'm like, I know that nothing happens to the kid because she's the main.
Yeah, you know the kid's getting revived because she's right there.
But like it was just like a really tense like scene. And I was like, wow, man, like that's got to be rough, like you get all the way to this point just to get bitten and then possibly turn into a fungi.
No, I think I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong here because obviously I haven't finished the game. I don't think they ever explain how she's immune in the games.
Yeah,
I think this is something they've added in, which, and it's, sure, it's kind of a generic thing. It's like, like she's now Blade. The mother got bit, and now she is immune. The fungus is tricked, which still doesn't really explain it. It's like, well, she's been scratched and the umbilical cord's attached, but she's given birth, so it shouldn't be attached anymore. What's going on here? No, not that I don't know biology that much.
It's a gimme. It's a gimme. I think the show doesn't ask us to give those many moments in the show. In the show, so it's like, all right, I give it. I'll give it this. And it's a mulligan. For the show.
I say at the end of the day, it's fiction, right? I can suspend my belief on it, but it's one of those. Where if I think about it for too long, it might. it won't fall apart. It's just there's just more questions.
The thing is like we don't know if it could happen or not, because like we're not biologists,
True,
we're not,
yeah.
so we don't know exactly like how this would work. I'm just taking the word of the the screenwriters, and but I mean, I don't know how other way you could do it. I think there's very little limited ways to explain that if you had to.
I mean, I to be honest, I'd have been totally fine with a generic, just adapting, right? Like people adapt and evolve. You get sick and you get antibodies and all this sort of stuff. Like just natural immunity, I'd been perfectly happy with. I'm perfectly happy with what we got. To be honest, it's nice that you got Ashley Johnson in the show, and you close your eyes, you can hear the video game version of Ellie talking. It's really, takes nice. You back a little bit, but it's what it is. It's not even a nitpick. It's just like, okay.
It's just one of those things you're asking. It's not like a critique as much as it's like I wonder what that is.
Exactly. It's just a question, just a little thing. But to counterbalance that, the scene where Joel kicks off, essentially.
Yeah.
I thought they handled that so well. Like,
I agree. Like, yes, I completely agree.
It was just, in the game, it's very it's video gamey, right? It's all action. There's 1,000 of them, and you're like just mowing these dudes down. And it's like, oh my god, this is horrendous. But this he's very methodical. It's one by one. There's only a few of them because why would there be 1,000 of them? It's the apocalypse after all, and it just has that slow. Not that the last music is slow and it's fast paced, but like just that little rendition of it going throughout. It's like, love it.
Yeah, I love it how he just went from room to room, and like as a parent. I was like, I think I would do the same thing. I just start popping people right and left if they were gonna like untimely kill my kid. And to go back to what you're saying earlier about like not effectively like making him feel like a bad person. I don't know. I think they did, and because it's like there were times where like they're like, please don't do this, please don't do, like just like they're like begging for their lives essentially, and like he's just like he got that blank cold look in his face, like he doesn't even say sorry when he shoots somebody. He just like shoots him, but
I mean, this episode makes him out to actually I don't even think this episode makes him out to be a bad guy. Like,
no,
I just think the rest of the show, like, he doesn't have that. The show didn't juggle the duality of Joel as much as I would like, but a lot of that is because you don't have the small moments, right? You don't have the dialogue when you're walking from A to B. This show is all about the big key points of the game, and that's totally fine. It's not a problem. But I just think there's it hasn't lost anything, but I don't think I think the game. Personally, I think not handled it better, but I think I prefer the game version of the ending.
I think this is where a 10th episode would have came in to kind
of possibly, yeah. Or even
think
just
they could have
had the episodes out a little bit more, like have that A to B moment.
Well, I think if you go back, I mean, you can still have the ending as it is, but I think if you go back and just show little moments about him just making morally questionable decisions. Like showing it and not so much talking about it, which is fine. But like it would have been nice
talking about it's perfectly fine, right? Because you don't need to see everything. No, I didn't think you needed to see the whole left behind bit with Ellie and Riley, and then her explaining to Joel later on. I don't think you even needed that. Like, it wasn't a problem, but I just don't think you needed it.
But I think it would have been nice to see a moment of him making questionable decisions that resulted in death. Because like he talks about it vaguely about like I made some really bad decisions and this, that, and the other. But it's like
I think what just purely trying to nail down why I think because in this show it presents every question with the choice he's made is in service of her. It's always to save her. So you're looking at it like it's a good thing because he's trying to save the cure for humanity, right? It's always this and that.
Well, I mean,
or even at the end of the day, it's like he's trying to save this little girl, right?
Yeah.
But he's never doing anything moment for like himself or just like they never came against a group of raiders and then just wiped them out, right? Like there was never that sort of a moment. Yeah. And I think the show.
I think they gave that to Bill and Frank though at that moment, which.
Which I think the Bill and Frank episode is still the best one, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I think by far that was like the best. I mean, I love. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like almost every episode. Pretty like 90%. Good like percent. Like percent wise. But that Bill and like Frank show episode was 100% for me. I mean, like, but like, I don't know. To get back, I would have liked to seen maybe a flashback or two, to see like, like moments of him doing these things, and like, especially with, I don't know, they could have done it earlier in the season. Maybe.
Oh yeah. You could have peppered it throughout, but it's
or like when
it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just there's. I just feel there's a context change here.
Yeah, I mean,
this character's decision. Like, yes, it's bad that he lied to her about it. That's great that they kept that bit in because that's like, oh, you scummy little gitbag. But
I see that as a parent. Look.
I mean, it is a parental thing, but at the same time, that's even in this show, what he's done at the end. Yeah, what he's done at the end, even in this show, and even me thinking the context of it slightly different, it's still a horrendous thing to do. It's still selfish as all hell. He's literally doomed mankind for one reason or another, for his own selfishness, because he's now got attached to a girl that reminds him of his kid, and he doesn't want to let that go again. No, that's fine. But...
Yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna deal with that in season 2, which I think that last moment of her asking him, like, "Are you telling me the truth about the Fireflies?" was like, and then like him just smiling and saying,
Did he
everything,
smile?
Not smile, but he didn't. It didn't show in his face like he was like fighting with himself about telling the truth.
No.
I feel like he said it without any hesitation.
Yeah. See, that's the little sprinkling of Joel's a bad guy in this, right? Like it's just. It is there. I just think there wasn't enough of it. I need more of that. This Joel at the end throughout the entire thing. Yeah.
I think in Timely, he was always like this. It just accentuated the like losing his daughter.
Yeah, I just wanted a bit more of a sprinkling of Joel bad.
No, yeah. I agree. I think. And like, man, kudos to the main cast. I mean, like, Peter Pascal is another. He's a national treasure. Like
he nailed this role.
He nailed it. As much as I would have loved to see the voice actor do this, like we were talking about earlier, but like, can he do what he's doing? Like
no, 100. I don't. I think Troy Baker obviously naturally could absolutely sell the performance. I don't. I hate to do it. He just doesn't look like Joel.
Yeah,
and I think that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean,
in this sort of thing, if The Last of Us was a book, 100% Troy Baker should be Joel. Now, if there's an audio book and he was him and all that, 100% he should have been Joel.
For sure.
But the fact that it's a game and Joel has a face, I think any visual. It's not. Oh no, it's not a midnight vigil. Any visual medium that has an established look of that. I'm going in a direction people can really misconstrue there. Obviously, you can make changes I just wouldn't buy Troy Baker's face as Joel. Yeah, I think he's too twinky. And I completely forgot where we were, so I'm going to apologize.
We were talking about Troy Baker not being.
Yes, yeah. I
first time I can remember anything, so take it.
I blame the undiagnosed ADHD brain, to be honest. No.
It's all soft.
But yeah, I'd like to see Troy Baker, a version of The Last of Us where Troy Baker is the live action Joel. I just don't. I think a lot of people would have a hard time buying it.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have. I don't want to sound like an a-hole. Because look, I mean, I look like I couldn't pull off looking like anybody but my stupid self, But like, I don't know. I think they made the right choice to go with Pedro Pascal as Joel, because I think, and it might even be like that thing where you're like, oh, now we kind of just picture Pedro Pascal as, in this role, regardless.
Even though Pascal does look a bit like Joel in the game, like the two aren't too dissimilar. It's very. Whereas if you put all three side by side, like you have the video game Joel in the middle, Troy Baker on the left, and Pedro on the right, like 2/3 of that picture will look the same.
Yeah.
And one despite being Joel and will always be Joel, does not belong, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. You know what the thing is? When they cast Pedro Pascal, if I remember correctly, people were throwing their hands in the air.
Yes, because he's not a white guy. That's what it is. Yeah.
So it's good old fashioned racism. Okay.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's what everything is these days. That's what everything is these days. Don't like it? It's woke. What do people mean by woke? Ask them. Ask them what woke means, and just if they can't give you an answer, just say it's because you don't like people of color. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
watch them squirm and get really angry at that. It's delicious. It's so
funny. I've had that conversation before.
Just say you don't like people. Yeah, like that. It's fine. It's not fine, but just say it's as an explanation. That's a fine thing to say because it explains everything. I'm done.
Like, be true to yourself, man, but don't.
If you're gonna say all this crap with your full chest out, like, at least be honest about it. Like, come on.
Yeah, like the word woke is just another buzzword people use to say, "Hey, I don't like something." Like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Anyways. But anyway, yeah, it's the casting of this, they definitely nailed it. They nailed 95% of this show. 95% of the show is nailed. No, I would have liked more infected in this show.
Yeah, I don't know.
The suits are fantastic, and I'm like, what a waste of a budget you made all these, and then you're barely used. Okay. On the other hand, I get why the story's not about them; it's about Joel and Ellie. That's fine.
They're the Walking Dead. I mean, everyone.
We will absolutely get more in the next part because they ramp it up, and they've also said that there's going to be more in the next season. So,
well, I gotta say though, they do The Walking Dead better than The Walking Dead, anyways. So.
I mean, ironically, so does The Walking Dead because it's got the old cartoon comics, isn't
it? I think the problem with The Walking Dead is like it's too bogged down with certain things. Yeah. I feel like this show kind of streamlined the zombie genre in general.
It definitely diluted it, yeah.
I think it perfected it. I mean, like
what, The Walking Dead?
No. This.
This 100. Yeah. This was. This I feel like was the pinnacle in the death of the zombie genre. Like it's like, okay, no one's ever going to do any better than The Last of Us.
Can't do better than this, man.
It's got every single trope, every zombie thing or post-apocalyptic thing's ever going to have, ever will have, all that anyone ever wants, and it does it to perfect. There's literally no improving on it whatsoever.
Yeah, and they just burn the second season down to the ground. So they can't do any better. Why try?
Mm-hmm. All right. So to wrap this up, I think we both agree that this episode's fantastic. They nailed the landing. They stuck it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Short and sweet.
Now, we've had a conversation before about how they handle the second part.
Yeah.
And I believe one said, to go full proper Queen's English here, one not referring to myself, said something about not stretching part 2 over 2 seasons.
Yeah.
They weren't a fan of that idea.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that? Because that's exactly what they're doing, apparently.
Oh,
actually, no. I'm going to jump in here before we move on. The giraffe scene was fantastic. It was magic, just as magical as the game. I adored it. Thank you.
Yep. Peace.
It was a real. Everyone's saying bad CGI. It was a real giraffe. Shut up.
It's a real giraffe, man. How can you have bad CGI when it's real, dude?
Because people are CGI blind these days. That's
why. It's
dumb.
It's you got to gripe about something, I guess.
It's true. But anyway, that was most of my favorite moment. That captured the whole magic from the game.
It was such a nice moment too between the two. Her going, I've never the way she reacts to things is pretty fun because it's like everything's new to her.
Yeah.
She's been born in a world post, pandemic, so she doesn't know about the flying cans in the air that carry people and giraffes.
Well, she knows of them because you'd hear about it, you see pictures and all this. It'd be the equivalent now of us seeing a dodo.
Yeah.
You just see a dodo bird walking about and be like, what the hell is this thing?
Is this alien? What is this thing?
No, maybe not for the psychopaths. He'd be like, it's just a bird. And it's like, it's a dodo. It's adorable. B, it's called a dodo.
Yeah, and it produces really big eggs, right? You can eat.
Yeah, I assume so because they weren't little, those things. But anyway, the prospect of them splitting, I say prospect, the confirmation that they're going to split the part 2 over 2 seasons.
I mean, I understand why they're doing it.
Got to pad out the time for part 3 to come out. Quick, Naughty Dog, make the 3rd game so we can have more seasons.
So yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me about a month ago when this started, I wouldn't have been a fan. But how I enjoyed the show, I am inclined to be a little bit more patient with it, I guess. If there's a reason why they're doing it, fine. I'm not gonna be throwing my hands in the air, going, I'm never gonna watch the show again because they're doing this.
Yeah.
I'm still not a fan of it. I just don't like the whole. I feel like it's biding time for something.
Yeah. I say it definitely feels like it, and I think everyone's kind of clocked onto it.
But I'm not gonna ding the show. I'm not gonna go, I hate this thing because of this. It's like I'm not a fan of it. Never will be. But I'm not opposed to watching it. As long as it's good.
Obviously without having finished part 2, I'm only a few hours in. From my understanding, there's a lot of flashbacks, and the structure of the game's very different to part 1. And I get the feeling we're going to get things more chronologically.
Oh,
whether that's better or for worse, because obviously flashbacks add context to certain events happening at a certain point.
Yeah,
you have a reveal for that way. Whether that's also in its favor or not, I don't know.
I'm also assuming that they probably want to keep Pedro around for a while, and not just.
Oh yeah. That's kind of one.
Kill him off.
Literally before we started this, there was I was watching the podcast with Druckmann, and he's like, there was no idea. If an idea was good enough, we would have changed the story. All ideas are welcome, no matter how radical or little. And if we liked it, we would have gone forward with it. And I'm like, sure. I mean, that mentality, sure, But
it's.
I wouldn't be the biggest fan of a massive change, but part of me gets the sense we might get a bit of a change with
part
2. Or the narrative of part 2, not necessarily season 2.
Sure. Yeah. And a part of me is like, yes, I want more of Pedro Pascal in the show, but there's the other part of me is like, that would have been ballsy, man, to just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You know, I think it would have been an interesting shift. You know,
yeah.
It would have been more interesting.
Yeah. Right. we're gonna wrap this up and let the little one have the attention he wants, because Daddy's being called. Daddy's very being called.
I mean, literally going.
I'm not gonna have this demonetized for child neglect.
I want to be front. I love my kids. But this guy,
I'm not having a therapist in 20 years call me up being like, why did you keep your daddy away? Like,
why did you allow this to happen? Like record it. I love him, but man, I just wish he'd go to sleep. Go to sleep.
So yeah, love the show. Love the
nice
ending. I look forward to the 3-year wait for the second season.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a while before we watch this.
Yeah. Gotta give Naughty Dog all the time in the world to make part 3. You can't not have that.
Yeah, this is almost a guarantee. Like after the season ended, this is almost guaranteed that 3rd game is gonna happen. So,
100%. Yeah. He's being really coy about it. He's like, we decided on our next project, and we're really excited about it. It's just like, yeah, just say it's part 3. just announce it, please. Like,
we see the crack of smile on your face when you're trying to like avoid saying yes, we're gonna have part 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Just say it. Don't hint it. Like, just, I mean, it's not like a revelation if they, it's like, this show did really well, obviously, and Sony probably was like, hey, let's do a 3rd game,
Also, it's not like the games didn't do well either. They're billions of dollars.
But I think the show kind of brought more of a national attention to the
game.
Yeah,
it's now more mainstream.
Mainstream, and like, I don't want to take anything away from the game, but like, games are pretty, niche in a way, but like, if a successful multimedia thing happens, they're gonna obviously capitalize on it. So
I never liked calling games niche. They're not mainstream, but it's one of those, the industry's bigger than Hollywood.
It is, but
is it niche? Like, it's not like everywhere.
I don't want to
no, I mean, I get what you're saying there, right? It's just I always find niche comics are niche, right? Several. Only tens of thousands of people read comics, whereas millions of people buy games.
I would even call calling comics now a niche because of how big the
here's the thing: it's comic books comic movies aren't niche. They are definitely mainstream. The comic books themselves, the sales are still only the tens of thousands. Really? They are absolutely niche.
That's
is it weird? They don't advertise. They don't make the correlation. They don't advertise them. There's how many comic shops are in most people's areas? None.
Yeah,
I in my life I've only known of 3.
Yeah, I would say like everything's digital now, so it's like.
That doesn't help. But then again, where'd you get them from? No one knows.
It's true. I used to be a huge comic book physical collector, and then like you just have to, I want to still enjoy it, but I also can't keep it. Like I don't know.
But anyway, we'll catch you for the Mandalorian next time, and
bye bye.
Still be the Mandalorian, so bye bye.